Hi, I'm Paul Seal from codeshare.co.uk, and this video is going to show you how to deploy an ASP.NET website using an Umbraco site as an example. And it's going to be made up of so many different parts. First, we're going to create the configurations and transforms, publish the project, put the files on the server. I'm going to be using remote desktop. We're going to set up the site on the server in IIS. I'm going to back up the local database for the Umbraco site that I'm doing here, but you could be doing that with any other site. Create a new database on the server if needed, or use an existing. Restore the database using the backup. Then sort out permissions for both the site and for the database. And then we're going to start the site and see that it's worked properly. So to start off with then, I've opened up my project in Visual Studio. And the first thing I need to do is make sure that I've got some configurations set up for it. And when I'm in configurations, I'm going to go into this bit here. So you see we've got the debug and the drop down. I'll go to Configuration Manager. Now at the moment I've got debug and release, but what I like to do is I like to have debug, user acceptance testing, so UAT, and then a live. So I'm going to create those, so UAT, and I'm going to leave this ticked to say create new project configurations, and that will just add that into the projects that are within this solution. So I'll click on OK for that, and then another new, and I'll do live. And then what I'm going to do is make sure that I've got these on here. So I want to delete the release one because I don't want to use that anymore. So I'll go into Edit and remove that. So now I've just got the 3 there, and then for all the projects within this solution, I'm just going to make sure that I remove that because it's not needed. So now when I change these live, they all map to live, debug maps to debug, UAT maps to UAT. That's good. So the site that I'm doing at the moment is my mother-in-law's site. It's not ready for live yet, so I'm going to be doing a UAT build on that. So I will use this configuration for it. So I'll close that. The next thing I want to do is create the config transform. So that means that between different environments I can have different configuration settings, such as the connection string to the database, or the Google Analytics tracking and things like that. So I'm going to make some changes to that. So I'll just collapse everything here. So I'm just going to go to web.config. Now at the moment I've got a debug and a release, so I'm going to delete these. Then what I'll do is right click on web.config and I'll do an add config transform. So that has now given me a web.debug, a web.live and a web.uat. Now I don't need the web.debug, so I'll just delete that because web.config on its own is the web debug. So that leaves me with UAT and live. Now when you're doing a configuration transform, you can get help for how to do this by looking at these links on when it creates it for you. It gives you a link on how to use it. So this isn't how to use that, this is showing you how to deploy a site. But if you want further help, go to that link. So I'm going to get an example of what I've done from CodeShare on UAT. So I'll just get that and I'll paste that into here, and then I'll edit it to be relevant to this site. Okay, so I've just added my config transform. So if I just show you that transform, so what it's got is it's got something. So it removes debug and also turns off trace. It makes sure that I'm using the local host for my mail settings. It sets the configuration path, the connection string for the database. So the convention I'm using here is the database name .uat, and then my username here, and then my password. Obviously I'm not going to share what those actually are with you. Also what it does is it makes sure that this doesn't get indexed by search engines, so it adds the xrobots tag no index. So that just helps just in case you start getting your test sites indexed. That was quite annoying really, so I add that on as well. So what we can do is we can preview this config by right clicking on this and do preview transform. On the right hand side we can see where all the changes are, so we can see where there's a difference. So here this is going to be my connection string on the left from the original, and then this is the new connection string on the right from using the transform. We can see there are changes for my email account that I'm using. Trace has been turned off, just scrolling down to the red bits here. Debug has been taken off, and also robots tag has been put in as well. So that's just previewing what that transform is going to do for us. So the next thing I need to do is make sure I've got all the files that I need for publishing, because it can happen quite often when you publish something and then you find out it didn't publish all of the script files or the images or the style sheets. So best thing to do is just go through the folders, just having a look for any important files that you're going to rely on that aren't included, like this one here, styles drop down. So I just need to right click and include that in the project, and do the same again, just keep going through. So they're all included. Images, media, right, so you see my media is not included. Now normally when I'm doing my first deployments of a site I will include the media folder, but when I'm doing further deployments usually the media is out of sync between different environments, so I don't usually deploy the media folder as well. I'll usually exclude the whole folder like this. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to include the folder, and if I include that media folder it will include all the children underneath it, so everything in there is going to be included. Then I've got SAS, I don't need that. I don't think I need that. I think that's from some sort of package I've installed. So I've got all my scripts and the views. Just make sure that all the ones I need are included. So I've got everything that I need in the project, so that's good. So I'm just going to save that. So now that I'm happy with that, I'm just going to do a build. So I've picked my configuration of UAT. I'm just going to rebuild the solution. Just make sure there aren't any errors, because you can't publish it if there's going to be any errors anyway. So that's built successfully. Next thing I'm going to do is check in my code to source code. Actually, I'm going to put a version on the application. I'm going to give it a version. So I'm just going to do this 1001. Alright, maybe it should be the first, but I have actually deployed this before to UAT, but for the purposes of the demo it could have just been left at 1000. Next thing I want to do is create a folder for this to be deployed to. So deploy, and in that folder I'm just going to create two other folders. One is going to be UAT and the one is going to be live. So these are going to be places for the different deployments to put those into. Okay, now I'm going to publish the project. So I'm going to right click on the web project, click on publish, and in the profile tab I'm going to choose custom, and I'm going to give it a name, UAT. Okay, so the publish method I'm going to use is file system, because I basically want it to just create all the files for me and then I will put them onto the server myself. And the location I'm just going to pick. So I've picked the UAT folder, which I just created. Then I'll click on next. file publish options, I find it's always good to tick delete all existing files prior to publish. So if you've got any previous publishers, it will just delete everything in that folder and start again for you every time you do a publish. And then you can see that it's using the configuration of UAT, that's good. And then the preview is saying it's going to come out here. So I'm just going to copy that for afterwards. I'm going to hit publish, and that will actually save that published profile for me as well. For that, when I say profile, I mean the custom profile I just created for UAT publishing. So if we look at the output, it's doing a build, and it's going to try and publish this to the folder that we just created. Now if it has any issues, it will tell me in here. If it say one of the sort of issues you might find is it can't find a file. So you might have the file referenced in the project but not actually have the physical file. So that can stop it, so you delete those ones. But once it gets to publishing folder and these messages, it means that it's going to be successful. So just let that carry on, and we can see all the files start showing up in that folder now. So once it says publish 1 succeeded, none failed, so, and just give it a refresh, we can see these are the files that we need for the website to run. So I'm going to zip these up. I'm going to call it FWA for short. Going to use the naming convention like this: 2017 02 and then 22 .zip, and that will pre-tick there for me. So I've got a zip file now, so for transferring the files over to the server, you can use FTP and things like that, but I'm just going to basically connect to the server and copy that zip file over and paste it into where I want it to be. So nearly done that now. Okay, next I'm going to connect to my server. So I use RDP, Remote Desktop. I'm not going to show you myself connecting to that, but basically I'll just click on RDP, enter the IP address, and use my credentials. Now I use Duo Security for some extra security on my site, so that it's two-factor. So you can't just log into my server, you have to log in and then you have to prove that it's me by accepting that through Duo Mobile, which is a really good free application. Okay, so I've logged on to my server. I'm with EUK hosts. They're really good for, I've got a VPS with them for a quite a good price. It's about £25 a month, and that gives me a good size hard drive, SSD. I've got a 60 gig hard drive. I've got a good, I can't remember what processor I've got, but it's a really good server anyway. I'm really happy with it, and it's always up. So I've got no issues with that. If you're interested in EUK hosts, if you've not got a VPS yet and you're in the UK and you want to give it a try, go to codeshare.co.uk/hosting, and that will take you to the EUK host site, where you can have a look at the price plans, and you're looking for Windows Server VPS you want, if you want to do what I'm doing here, if you need any help with that. So anyway, we're on the server. I need to go back to my desktop, copy that zip file, and then I'm going to use it on here. Okay, so I've copied the zip file, and here we go. I've got a UAT site, a UAT folder on my server. So I'm going to put in, I'm just going to paste in this here. And then once that's pasted, the zip file's pasted over, then I'm going to extract that. And because I use the naming convention with the date, it'll always, if I sort it in ascending order but alphabetically, it will also be in date order as well. So that's why I like to do it. It's just useful for when you're picking the next version and things like that. So now we've got those files on the server. So I'm going to make sure that I've got permissions on the site for IIS. So if I just do an advanced find now, and then I can allow those to modify. Already got that. So that's good, they've already got permission to modify. So what I need to do now is create a backup of the database, and then I can use that backup on the server. So if I right click on this, tasks, backup, I want to do a full backup, and I want to remove if there's any already in here. Make sure that it says disk, go to add, MS SQL backup, and then I'll just put the file name. So I'm just going to do FWA DB 2017 02 22.back. So that's creating the backup file for me in that folder. So I click on OK. Okay, so I've gone to the folder where I created the backup. I'm just going to add that to an archive, create a zip file, OK, and then I'm going to copy that up to my server. Okay, so I'm copying that onto my server now, and I'm going to extract that. The next thing for me to do is to create a database on this SQL server that I have on my VPS server. So I'll launch SQL Server Management Studio. One thing to note is if you're using a version of SQL Server, like I'm using Express 2014 on my local machine, and also I've got it on my server. If you have those out of sync with each other, so if one's newer, if your local one's newer than the destination, then that can cause a problem because the destination one won't be aware of the newer backups, even though it should be the same, and even though you've backed up the database for a 2012 database or what have you, it could still cause problems. So just make sure whatever you're using on your live server, you're also using the same environment on your local one for database backups. So I'm just going to create a new database. And I'm going to make sure in the options that it's going to be SQL Server 2012, because that's what I've got it set to on my local. And then I'm just going to click on OK. So now I want to restore the database, so I'll right click on it, choose Tasks, Restore, and then Database. And then in the devices, I navigate to the folder where I saved the back file and I extracted it from the zip. So I've clicked on Add, I've found the folder, and I've found the file, so I'll click on OK. Then in the database, I choose the database where it's coming from within that back file. And then in here, I choose the destination database. Next, I want to make sure that the restore happens correctly. So it's coming from this initial database file. So this is the MDF and the LDFs. And I want to make sure that they restore as the correct ones. So I will pick those on there, but these look like they are correct. Then on the options, I want to tick overwrite and then OK. In security, I need to create a new login. I'm not going to put my details in front of you, but basically login name, password, untick enforce password policy, then go to user mappings, tick the database and choose reader, writer and owner for the permissions for this user. Okay, so now I'm going to create the site in IIS. I opened out the server, right clicked on sites, and then I'm just going to put in the site name in here. I'm going to choose the physical path, and the path is going to be the folder the web folder that I created, which has got the date, so today's date. So it's at that level that I choose there. And then the host name is going to be, I've got uat.fionawhitfieldart.com. I'm going to start the website immediately. Now, I've started the website immediately and I'm expecting it not to connect. So when I've tried to visit the site, I've got an error in the application. So, and it's saying about turning off custom errors. So what I want to do is go onto the server. So I've gone into the folder of it and I just need to turn off the custom errors. So to turn off custom errors, I just go to find the custom errors here and I just do off like that. So now this will give me a chance to see what the actual error is. And I'm expecting this error to be that it can't connect to the database because I've purposely left the dummy connection string in there. So yeah, it can't start, can't connect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to update that connection string and then try it again. So I've updated the connection string. Let's see if it can connect now. Brilliant. So it's connected to the database and it's brought down the content of the site. It's been able to load it up, and now the site that I had local is now on my UAT address. So yeah, pretty pleased with that. That went really well. So that's worked. I'm happy with that. Now you've got a video on how to do a deployment. So I hope you liked the video, especially those who have been asking for it. If you do like the video, please click on like and also subscribe to my channel. I'd love to hear from you in the comments as well. And please share the video around. And I look forward to making some more videos for you in the future. Thanks a lot. Bye.